Ja, men hej och välkomna till Aktiedagen i Lund den 9 oktober. Jag heter Gunnar Vrede och är den som presenterar nästa bolag som heter Risk Intelligence och vd är Hans Tino Hansen. Välkommen. Tack. Du får ordet direkt.
Vi tillverkar faktiskt.
To English here, so you all have a better chance of understanding what I'm telling you today. It's also our company language. I'm going to start with a little slide that I call the CFO slide with all the disclaimer. And now I assume that you read it. And we are a company that do threat and risk assessments globally for mostly the maritime sector, but also increasingly the land logistics side. We do that with a group of analysts and a 24 watch team that works 8 hours in Central European time, 8 hours in North American time, and 8 hours in Asian time, which is from Singapore, and that way we cover 24/7, 365. We are listed at Spotlight with the ticker RISK. The threats that we cover range from organized crime in one end and war in the other end. So this means that the war in Ukraine, for instance, is playing a big part, both directly but also indirectly to our clients. Our business model is based on 3 different revenue streams. One, the biggest, is the Risk Intelligence System, which is a cloud-based platform consisting of the 3 modules: MarRisk, Port Risk, and Land Risk. It's based on license-based revenue, where 12 months is paid up front. We have a churn that historically been between 0 and 2%. Most of that is good churn, meaning that it's because companies have left the maritime business, changed business area, or merged. We've had that actually quite a few times where companies have been acquiring each other. Almost no cost is connected to onboarding. It is almost self-explanatory. We do obviously have cost when we acquire new clients through marketing, lead generation, and sales. We do have license agreements on API, meaning where our clients buy our data instead of our platform, and that is increasingly providing revenue for us. The platform is fully scalable. Then we have intelligence reports that are PDF-based, which also means that when they are produced, they are fully scalable. These are subscription-based, or they are bought in packages, and the subscription period can be 3, 6, or 12 months. Then we have advisory services that constitute about 10% of our business. This is where we do bespoke reports for our clients in different sectors. We work from the intelligence cycle just like government intelligence organizations or other private intelligence companies, which means that we collect data and intelligence and information from various sources around the world. We verify them, we analyze the information that we have, and then we do an assessment. And all that is distributed on the Risk Intelligence System or in our reports. Then we acquire feedback from our clients. We may change the direction, and then we change the collection, and then it goes around and around, and that's called the intelligence cycle. So you may ask yourself, what is the secret sauce of Risk Intelligence? Can other people just copy what we are doing? Yes, the platform anyone can do. If you have 20 bright engineers in India, you can probably do that in a month or 2. But you cannot copy the data and the sources. That's what takes a long time to build. It has taken us about 20 years to build our source network. We built a knowledge base and a database that goes back to 2007, and in some instances even before. We have our own analysis model. We have built worldwide experience in the company, but also among our employees. We built relationships with organizations, with government organizations, with companies around the world. We also acquired insights that you wouldn't have if you started from scratch. So I normally say that it will take 5 to 10 years to build up something similar with the same level of source networks and similar. So that's our barrier to entry if you want to be as good as we are. So it's not all about human intelligence. We are also increasingly using AI. I know it's a buzzword, but we are actually using it. We do not talk much about it, but we have an enterprise content management system where we took all the information that we had at the time, going back to 2001, and put it into the system, and then we've been adding ever since, meaning that we can actually search all our old files which can give some lessons for AI processes. Then we also used it for big data sets like we have from LandRisk, that is the land-based logistics product, where we have incidents in the tens of thousands, where on the maritime side we have in the hundreds, maybe 300, 400, 500 per year. But here in Europe alone we are in the tens of thousands. That we have automated in the sense that we get the data and AI helps us in automate the process, which means that we saved, when we started the project, about 1,300 man-hours, and now we're about 1,800. That was our phase 2. Phase 3 and phase 4 is a little bit in the future, especially for phase 4, where we are using AI to identify trends, patterns, and organizations. And then down the road, we would like to have a solution where we can actually use AI to do the analysis as well, a part of it, and then in the end, it will always be human. So who and where are we? We have our head office in Hellerup. It's the gray building you see there, 2 of the floors in Hellerup, which is just north of Copenhagen. Then we have an office in Singapore, plus we have individual employees in the Middle East, Europe and North America. English is our company language because, as you can see, we have 9 nationalities and all our clients are globally operating companies. We have 26 full-time and 12 permanent part-time employees. A little bit more about the products. We have on the platform, the risk intelligence system, we have 3 modules, MaRisk, PortRisk and LandRisk. MaRisk is the maritime and is normally sold together with PortRisk because the ports cover ports and offshore terminals, and in that sense it is both a maritime product but it's also a land-based product for the land-based logistics. It is about security incidents that we update 24/7. We have alerts on piracy, but not only on piracy, but also on other situations. That could be the attack from Islamic Jihad and Hamas on Israel, because it impacts not only Israel as such, but also the ports, as Ashkelon, the port, so that an alert will be sent out. We have statistics, recommendations, and guidance, and we can integrate our clients' fleet tracking systems, meaning where they can see their ships' positions on our maps. And again, as mentioned, we also sell API access to our clients and integrate it. We also have API with our partners. Ports, as mentioned, port and offshore terminals. And this is more about port security, which is different from the maritime security, but it has the same type of threat assessments on the port, on the city where the port is located, and on the country, just like in MaRisk. Our clients operate 15.7% of the world fleet. That is not equal to a market share of 15.7. We did carry out a study, or we had a company doing that for us last year, and our market share is about 6 to 7%, because many of our clients have, for good measure, and something that we also recommend, more than one source for this kind of information. It also means that there is a good, still a good option and possibility for growth in the maritime market. We also have government clients. We have 8 NATO countries with a number of different organizations in each country. And we have NATO itself as our client. You see 2 of our clients here, which is the US Navy and the Danish Navy. Then the latest addition from 2019 is LandRisk and LandRisk Logistics, where we focus in LandRisk Logistics on Europe only. And this is because that Europe is alone big enough to grow the market for us. Here we're looking into truck parking areas. We have more than 8,000 truck parking areas in Europe with an assessment on our system, and we have about 250 secure parking areas. Then you can ask yourself, why do we have that? This is because that when the logistics companies plan their routes, they are planning for the high-value cargo to go to secure parking areas. However, as you know, on motorways like A7 in Germany, there can be accidents, there can be roadworks or similar, so the drivers cannot reach the secure parking areas. This means that they actively, or the dispatchers that actually manage the routes, they will need to find the best possible non-secure parking area on the route. So it's both used for planning, but it's also used for mitigation when risks appear. Our clients on the LandRisk Logistics side is DSV and DHL and Sony, and we are working with a number of others in the pipeline. If we then move a little bit to our 2025 strategy, then we have 5 strategic milestones. The first one is that after COVID, we last year we decided to refocus on the maritime business. Refocusing in the sense that we launched Land Risk in October 2019, and when we were about to roll out this to the logistics companies and manufacturers in spring 2020, COVID hit, and everybody focused on protecting and securing their own supply chains and had not time to look into buying new solutions that would also need to change their procedures. This meant that in 2021 and to much of an extent in 2022, all our growth and revenue came from the maritime side. This meant that in our strategy, we, after having invested a lot on the land side, we went back to invest and plan to invest in the maritime side, where the new platform that we are actually going to launch in about a month's time is the biggest investment in this sense. One of the things that we also just have launched the other day is actually a special product for the cruise industry that we've developed together with cruise clients, and where we have quite a big interest from some of the big cruise operators. The land-based side, we decided to still grow, but only when there was client revenue involved. It turned out that with DSV and DHL, that this actually took place, and we got client revenue, and we invested together with the clients in further development. On the land risk side and land risk logistics, it is often more, there are more specifications, we need to do some work on the system and add features or maybe layers of data, which is not the same case on the maritime side, which is more a standard product. The price on the land risk logistics is also considerably higher than on the maritime side. Then we have worked to increase our commercial partnerships, because we want to increase our markets, obviously, horizontally, actually addressing markets that we couldn't address before together with partners, but also vertically addressing more in the shipping business within the same organizations by doing that. And we've done that with SOS and International SOS and Medair on the luxury yacht side, where we're going to add a feature or layers to their products in 2024, and the same with Navtor, where we are addressing the vertical market on the shipping side, and they produce fleet management systems and tracking systems. We have an aim in the strategy to reach 50 million kroner in revenue in 2025, with an average year-on-year growth of 30%, where we are increasing the growth rate from about 20 to 30%. With all these initiatives, with partnerships, with new platform and similar during the years. We also changed our revenue recognition last year. That means that on the recognized revenue, we have a time lag of up to 12 months, where we on the invoiced revenue, that's where we're going to hit the 50 million. We are predicting, forecasting a positive net result from 2024. We are having Q4, during Q4, so basically this quarter, we are going to have positive liquidity from operations for the first time, and we're going to have that in throughout 24 and 25. If we are then looking at the numbers, then our current guidance for 23 is an ARR growth of 15 to 30%. It's a an EBITDA that is negative and a net result that is negative, but a net positive cash flow. And as mentioned below, you can see that we changed the guidance on Q4 with positive cash flow from operations. Then a few numbers here where you can see that we had on the recognized revenue, so the one that's reported, we did have an increase in Q2 of 14% and 15% for the 6 first months. But if we look at the invoice revenue, where we don't have the time lag, we have 42% in Q2 and 76% in the first 6 months. The system ARR increased in Q2 with 56% and 15% during the first 6 months. Total ARR, which is both reports and the system, was 44, and growth 13% for the 6 months. The new platform I already mentioned will provide us with 3 different revenue streams where we have only had one until this date. Until now, we've had users basically as the main function for the license agreement, but the new platform will still give us the users, but also make it possible to have a tailor-made combination of various features for the individual users. We will increase the pricing with 20% with the new platform. Secondly, we will have features that is against the fee. And then third, we will have third-party data through our partner Geolect. They could be weather overlay, could be AIS, so positions, where our clients will pay for that. So we're going from 1 to 3 revenue streams on the maritime side. Then we have funding for this 2025 strategy. We have a rights issue that is coming up on the 11th of October to 24th of October. We have a rights issue of 18.4 million, where we have secured 13.9 million with pre-subscriptions, where 1.6 million comes from board and management, and then from underwriters. We also have a commitment from the Danish Vækstfonden that you may know is the Danish State Growth Fund of a loan up to 5 million, a long-term loan. And in addition, as mentioned, we will have positive liquidity from operations during Q4. We will spend 2 million on investments. We will have a reserve of 2 to 6 million in liquidity, and then we will remove all short-term debt. It means that we are going to vastly change the balance sheet, improve the balance sheet with equity and with much lower debt, which also means that we will have much less financial costs in 24 and 25. So outlook, re-establish the equity. We are going to remove short-term debt and with large savings in financial costs. We will finance the investments in the new platform, which will be the main driver for growth, as I already mentioned. We already have now a stable cost structure. We will only see a few additions in operations and then primarily on the commercial side, meaning that our cost curve, except for inflation, will be almost flat. No need for further capital increases in the 2025 strategy, as we will have positive liquidity, turning into positive EBITDA and ultimately profit. So it's a foundation for fully scalable growth going forward. And the rights issue takes place from 11th of October to 24th of October. It is, as mentioned, a rights issue, meaning that you initially have to have rights, but in the end there might be possibility for new investors to acquire. Either you can acquire rights, obviously, or you can subscribe. So that's open. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Hans. There's a lot of questions here. To start with, I wonder what kind of risks you address for your clients. And you talk about a new platform, and there will be more features, but as we speak now.
Yeah. The risks are actually the same. We do not cover cyber risks because we believe that cyber risks should be covered by specialist companies, so we refer to them. However, when we do a risk assessment for a port or an operation, we also include cyber risks. So we do not go in details with it because we see that cyber risk, for instance, is actually a tactic used by either government, organized crime, or other different organizations. So it is the risk that I mentioned in the beginning. It's organized crime, it's crime, it's insurgency, it's terrorism, it's piracy, and it's state-sponsored, it's war, as we see unfortunately in Ukraine.
So if you can give an example of how does it work for the client. Suppose you're on a container ship somewhere in the world. What does the product look like for the user?
Yeah. We have 2 levels of usage. One is in the offices where they do the planning and the monitoring. So that's the company security officer, for instance, or the director of operations that plan operations. Then it's also used in some companies on the ships. And one of our growth areas in the future is to have it on more than the 1,000 ships that have it in the moment, and maybe get up to, in due time, up to the 8,000-9,000 ships that our clients operate. They can either use it for, they get email alerts if something is updated on the system, so they can use it responsively where you act on something coming in, or others they have a procedure where they look at it during the day or in the morning, they open and then they see what is the situation, are there any news from yesterday or during the night. In the new platform, some of that will be automated, meaning that when a ship goes through certain areas that can be defined by us or by the company, then special alerts will go to the ship, but also to the CSO who's actually in charge of these ships. So the new platform will do many things. We will also have a voyage planning tool, intelligence-based voyage planning tool, which will actually take into consideration the threat assessments and the alerts and the incidents when you plan your voyage.
Okay. We had another company which is pretty similar here before today called Safeture, but you focus on logistics, maritime, land, trailers, and ports.
Yeah.
Why?
This is simply because that we do not cover the individual or the traveler or those who are moving around on the ground. We do, in some respect, look into it when we have crew changes for ships in ports around the world, because they need to move from the ship to the airport or from the airport to the ship. And like in Lagos, they have to go through areas that are not secure. So in that sense, we do, but we do not cover these sorts of risk. We focus on the ships, on the operations, or the trucks, or the cargo. That's what we are looking into, and then we leave the other areas to others who are much better in that.
Okay, I believe there's pros and cons with this, but as a potential shareholder, I wonder if when you narrow your market like this, doesn't it make you less scalable?
Of course, if we covered everything, we would be more scalable, but then we wouldn't be as good specialized in what we do. So you can actually see there is a trade-off between doing everything, like some companies do, but they're not good at anything. While we believe that we are good, very good at some things, and we don't want to do all the other things, because then we run the risk of not being the best or among the best in actually what we do.
All right. And the business model is subscription.
Yes.
What's your margin? You say you aim for 50 million Danish kroner in revenue in 2025. And the margin on that?
It's going to be quite high. Because, as mentioned, our cost structure is basically where we are. We're going to hire maybe one analyst more. We're going to hire some in the commercial side, obviously to support sales lead generation and sales and customer success team. But if you look at the cost structure having only a low growth rate, and then we have a higher growth rate on the sales, and we are just going through the line where we go into the positive EBITDA area, then the rest is math, so it's going to be quite high.
So the intelligence, you buy the intelligence?
No, we do not pay a single krone for our source from our sources. None of our sources are paid. We do buy some data different places, but the actual intelligence where we have an advantage compared to some of our competitors is only based on relationships that we built up over that many years. So where we share information, we get a lot from our clients. They have 8,000 ships, or more than 8,000 ships around the world. They have offices around the world, and we share information with them. So we actually don't pay that much.
Okay, what I'm after is that when you grow, will you also have higher costs, or will the margin grow as you...
But that was my point from before, when we are where we are, meaning that we actually do not need to invest more in the production, much more in the production side. We're going to do some more things on AI and data handling and management and analysis, but actually the production side is fully scalable as it is. So we're going to invest more in a few areas. South America is one, special analyst there and similar, and then otherwise we will only invest more if there is strategic opportunities. But according to the 2025 plan, we have the cost structure more or less as we should have.
Okay, so when are you going to be profitable?
In 24.
In 24.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a viewer question. What does the competition look like?
On the maritime side, there are a number of competitors that are similar to our Maurice product. I would normally say that I prefer to have a strong market with good competitors and strong competitors, because it actually means that you are in a market that is interesting. On the land side, I'm actually going to go against my own religion, because there we are actually alone with the product that we have now. It's also because we were first movers, and no one has picked up specifically that part yet. I do hope that we will see some strong competitors down the road. It might sound strange, but we already have 2 of the 3 biggest logistics companies and our clients, and we are in negotiations with others. So I guess that we will actually be able to have a good position anyway.
So this 50 million kroner in 2025, what obstacles might appear that make you miss that goal?
I mean, many things can happen. I mean, nobody had seen COVID coming. That is basically because why we didn't reach our initial strategy that we had when we did the IPO in 2018. We do not foresee that we will have another COVID. And if the world had another COVID, we would be better prepared. But there are things. One thing should be said: more risk is actually better for us. Even if global economy, global politics will actually produce more risk, meaning that people have more demand for us. One thing that we experienced was in 2015, when we launched port risk, and 2016 there was a big shipping crisis. That hit us because we didn't have any growth. And I was actually very, very disappointed in 2016 after the year, until I spoke to our competitors that we have good contacts with, where they had lost 20, 35, 45% of their revenue during the year, and we only had like 3% growth, which was very disappointing for me when we had launched a new product. But I actually found out that we actually were in a good position compared to the others. So that could be a threat, a crisis again, over capacity in the shipping business. But that's where we are going to balance it with the land side going forward, when it's growing, also in relative terms compared to our maritime business. We do not really foresee that we will have the same type of market threat on the land side, because it's consisting of so many different actors. I think that would be the biggest threat as I see it at the moment.
Okay. There's another viewer question. I think you mentioned it, but since the question is there, what's the money going to be used to from the rights issue?
Yes, investments, number 1. 2, removing all short-term debt, basically improving our balance sheets markedly, and then having a reserve for liquidity and unforeseen events and investments for that matter.
And this issue will be the last one you do in order to keep floating?
Yes, that is because we will not have a so-called burn rate after Q4, meaning that if we need funding, then it'll be for an opportunity that is not described in the 2025 strategy. Then it's because a strategic opportunity emerges, and we would do something about that.
Yes, but cash flow will make
cash flow will be positive.
Yes. Hans, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Och